Recording's good. Okay. So I think, Liz, you're on the train, correct?
I am. I should be there in like 20 minutes or so.
All right. Well, I mean, with Bill being the person in chambers, you want him to just kind of run the meeting for the time being?
Yes, that is perfect. Thank you.
All right. Perfect. All right, Bill.
I'd like to open the October 10th, 2024 meeting of the MBTA committee.
Excellent. So, by the way, Bill, this is just the packet with the minutes in it. in the
Okay.
agenda. I think this was already sent out, but
Yep,
just so you have it.
thank you.
So I know we discussed at the last meeting, just kind of going over the October 15th outreach.
Okay, interject for 1 minute.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the reception received on Tuesday? At the
Yeah.
Senior Center?
Yeah, why don't you speak to that, Bill?
We attended coffee and conversation, Rob and I, on Tuesday at the Senior Center. And we thought we'd talk maybe 10 or 15 minutes about the MBTA. But it ended up being almost an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of great conversation, a lot of interest, some great questions, positive feedback. And it was worthwhile doing. And I think it may be something we may want to do at least once, maybe twice before the election,
You mean before the town meeting?
before the town meeting, excuse me.
Yeah, no, I thought, I agree with Bill. It went really well. Everything was very well received. And actually, you know, just speaking of reception of the plan, as you know, the article was on the Bellingham Bulletin, the October edition, just recently.
The Bellingham Bowl,
Yeah, the Bellingham Bulletin, the newspaper.
It's on the front page.
was that on the front page?
It was on
Yeah.
the front. Everybody, I will be signing autographs
Okay.
at
What else was on the front
at
page?
some point in the near future. No, just kidding. But that is correct. It was on the front page. But it also managed to be posted on Facebook on, I think it was Bellingham Unplugged or Buzz and Beyond. I forget which one. But reading through the comments, I was actually pleasantly surprised with the reception that was there. I know that there were definitely some sour comments, but a lot of it had to do more with distaste for the regulation itself with the state and not with the approach that's been taken. A matter of fact, there were actually some positive comments that were brought on, which I was pleasantly surprised, especially on that forum.
I think we learned through this process, the more people are educated, the more they know about it. They feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah, and I think.
And this will lead to that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that there's definitely been a very transparent approach to this. I give everyone a lot of credit. I know Bill, Jeff, Liz, you've all, and Sahan, I know he's not here right now, but yeah, everybody has worked so diligently on this, and I appreciate everyone's effort because I think this zoning change, it's not exactly a light task here that we've been you've been volunteered to do and asked to do. So I give you all a lot of credit and I appreciate you sticking through it because we're almost there. November 20th, we'll be here before we know it. So, so good job, everybody. But, with that, I don't know, Jeff or Liz, if you had anything else to add before I can go into the presentation a little bit.
No, thanks for heading up the presentation, and glad we were able to hit some social media and able to get that article in the paper. That's great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it worked out well. So, Excellent. All right. Well, I guess you want me to hop into the presentation,
Yeah,
Bill,
please.
just to go through it quickly?
Yeah,
So essentially, it's very similar to the one that we had previously for the June meeting. The difference is I tried to really trim it down because we don't want to be talking for, 15 or 20 minutes during the town meeting. I think the most productive manner, especially too for the outreach, is present the information, as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then it's really the Q and A that I think will be the majority of the conversation. I know that's essentially what occurred during the coffee and conversation, where it was pretty much just a 5-minute quick overview of what the MBTA is and what we're proposing to do to meet the state regs. And it was followed up with an hour and 25 minutes of just discussion. I mean, we talked about a lot of other stuff besides MBTA too, towards the end. Probably like an hour of
yep,
MBTA discussion and 30 minutes of other stuff. But, I think the October 15th outreach meeting, in my opinion, should probably follow the same way. I thought it was good. There was good conversation. It was not one-sided. And, so with that, I tried to just trim this presentation down to really hit the points. So going through it, you'll notice a lot of these slides are the same. I just pretty much changed the language and removed some, but we just have the same cover from the initial one. Obviously a big thank you to all of the subcommittee volunteers who, as I said, have worked very hard on this. The third slide is where we start to just kind of dig into what the MBTA communities law is, which essentially the key takeaways here is that it was part of that housing choice initiative in 2021. It applies to 177 cities and towns in the eastern half of Massachusetts. And the intent was to, reduce local regulatory barriers and also allow more choices for people, who are looking for multifamily housing. The next slide is the big one, which is, why is Bellingham even considered an MBTA community? Because there was a lot of questions initially with, why are we doing this? Are we adding an MBTA station? Why are we calling it MBTA station? We don't have an MBTA station.
we're not getting one.
We're not getting one, at least not now. So with that, this just goes over the, the crux of why Bellingham is considered an MBTA community, which is, we are adjacent to a commuter rail community, which is Franklin. And because of that, since we're part of that adjacent community, we have our specific deadline to meet the regulations. And then in this slide, there's actually one mess up. So under basic requirements, everything there makes sense, except I did put, this is from the previous slide, the third bullet point, which is within half a mile of a commuter rail station where possible. I think I'm just going to remove that because it doesn't really apply to us. We don't have to meet that requirement, and I think it might just confuse people.
That did come up on Tuesday.
It did. Jeff and Liz, I don't know if would you agree with that approach?
Well,
We confuse people.
we didn't choose the locations we did based on being a half mile from the commuter station. They happen to be,
Correct.
but I'd probably remove it for the sake of simplicity.
Okay, I'm in agreement.
Yes, I agree.
All right. So I will strike that because I agree. I think it might just be a little confusing for people. The next slide is really just hammering the points that there's no actual production requirement. It's a zoning exercise. It is not a requirement to build new housing developments. That is not going to put us in compliance. It's just to allow the zoning. And then, it doesn't override, Massachusetts regulations in respect to wetlands or septic systems. And then, what's the other one? Oh, yeah, and then communities aren't required to pay for infrastructure to support any proposed developments in the future.
You said they are, or they're not.
They are not
Okay.
required to do that.
So I think we see here, we are,
The law does not require
Okay.
communities to pay for infrastructure to support housing development in a 3A district. Does not. And actually too, this provide options for waivers or exemptions that we do have that written, I believe, in our bylaw, but that one
I
might,
think it's gonna raise some questions.
yeah,
What are waivers and what are exemptions?
yeah,
Can we exempt the whole project? Can we waive the whole project?
yeah, which obviously wouldn't, yeah. Well, I guess the planning board, if they're inclined to, but I don't anticipate that happening, so that fourth bullet point should maybe go away too. I don't know if Jeff, Liz, if you have any thoughts on that.
I mean, it just kind of begs the question, what waivers or exemptions might it not be applied to? And if you're gonna ask that rhetorical question, you might as well take it out.
I agree, yeah. Okay. I like that. All right, what's next? So this is just the makeup of the 3A district, so the minimum density, which is 15 units per acre. Needs to be 50 acres minimum. Our unit capacity that we have to strive for is 750 units. And then half of the district needs to be contiguous, so a minimum of 25 acres for at least one district, because you can have multiple. The smallest you can have is a 5-acre district, and you can't have a special permit review, but you can do a site plan review process, which is laid out in our language. So that's that. And then kind of hammering those points, the next slide, that one has the big takeaways, which is the minimum unit capacity, minimum district size, gross density, and 0 units are required to be within a certain distance of an MBTA station area because we are an adjacent community. These two why comply slides are the exact same that we had previously, which, I'm not going to go into them now, but I think these ones are two pretty important ones. Just to state that our grants are at stake and also potential legal actions from the Attorney General. So that's those. Steps taken so far. I just added the October 2024 for the second round of public outreach meetings. This is pretty much the same slide though, with the exception of that additional item.
I asked, one thing,
Yeah,
would you like to put, somewhere the count of the number of meetings we've had over 6 months?
yeah, I can do that.
I mean, so they know that, this has been worked on quite a bit.
Yeah, I can add some, like 2 more slides in here that, or not 2 more slides, 2 more columns in here that between the April 2024 and then between June and October, just 2 different things, just stating that, X amount of MBTA subcommittee meetings,
Public meetings.
public meetings
Yep.
took place. I think that would be helpful. Excellent.
Is the October meeting on the 15th, is that a presentation to the town, or is that we're presenting at town meeting and it's being voted on?
So the October 15th meeting is just the second round of public outreach, so it's
Okay.
just like the June one. The official town meeting vote will be, that's November 20th.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so we are winding down, Jeff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think, well, I can talk about kind of what I envision for a future meeting, but yeah, I think we are winding down after the second round of public outreach, I think. But I can definitely add those in there, Bill, because I mean, obviously, we've all spent a lot of time on this, and it should be shown on this steps taken so far. There's been quite a few steps.
Mhm.
And do you want to add a row in here just for completeness of the calendar events? Just to talk about, voting on, November 2024 vote at town meeting?
That would be a good, and what I can do, I can maybe put it in bold so it kind of separates that these are the steps taken so far. This bold one is the big one that hasn't been taken so far, but
There you go.
please be aware of it.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, okay, no, I like that idea, that's good. Okay, so I will add those to this section. And then just moving forward, just going over the proposed district locations, these are the same slides from the last presentation, which just shows the Charles and it shows the Curtis apartments.
Yep.
Now, one thing that I was thinking about with this is, I think from somebody who has seen plans or has seen like GIS maps or tax parcels, it's easier to see what you're looking at with these, but what are your thoughts on if I added a slide after each of these showing the actual ortho imagery with the line around it? So like you can actually see the Curtis apartments and the houses that are on those three lots.
I think maybe 2 slides.
It's gonna be two different ones.
One specifically showing, on your very first page, you show both locations. You may want to show what the buildings look like now, and then the aerial.
Well, I'm just gonna show the aerial of
Okay, that's
each
fine.
one showing where so it would be. Like if I did the Charles, you would see this. And then there would be another slide after this showing the Charles, like from Google Earth imagery. So you
Okay.
see the buildings and the area around it, and I can put this outline around the overlay so people can see, oh yeah, so they're like this area is undeveloped and this area
Right.
is too.
I
This
think that'd
area
be
is,
helpful.
yeah, you think that makes sense?
It does.
Okay. Cause I
Yep,
think,
just
sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
just remember you're projecting this at, on what may be difficult to see a lot of detail. And so I would just keep the actual rendering of what you're doing. It probably doesn't need to be a shot from satellite, right? It could probably be just a drawing of whatever's there already.
Yeah, that's, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I can do, I'll put that together and I'll have it for the October 15th outreach meeting to see what the perception is. And based on that, maybe we can discuss to see if it makes it in or doesn't make it into the town meeting presentation. This is kind of helpful. This is a nice dry run of figuring
I
out,
think it may be helpful.
yeah. But to Jeff's point too, I can understand too, where if there's too much coming at you, might get a little confusing, so. So I can do that for both of these, and then just the last bit was just the overall summary on, the minimum requirements and what's proposed and showing that we meet each of those, the minimum requirements. So I just tried to, like I said, trim it down a bit to make it a little bit more manageable during town meeting.
Can you go back to the slide where you wanted to, add the line about how many meetings we've had?
That one?
Yes. I don't want to make a lot more work for you, but do we want to let people know that throughout this entire process, we've dealt with, state consultants to help us migrate through this process?
Well, March 24, we had that one does state that Barrett Planning Group was included, or was selected. I mean, I don't know if you want me to add more to that.
Or maybe when you're doing your presentation, you can simply state that throughout this process, we've had input from the state consultants on how to navigate through this process.
Yeah, I do plan on going through this in a little bit more depth, and I do think that would be helpful to.
I do,
to
because they'll
state.
know that we've been working with the state.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense, and obviously it's their compliance model that we're going off of. They say it's Rob Lucier compliance model, we might have issues.
Correct.
They say it's on the front page of the Bellingham Bulletin, but I don't know if I trust his modeling.
That's correct. I'm not gonna go there. I've said too much.
Boy, anyway, on that note, so I can add that, I can definitely touch upon during the presentation, the Barrett Planning Group situation. Okay. Okay.
You know, Rob, one of the things that you, I don't think you had included in a slide, but that you spoke to during the presentations that I've seen you make was, you know, of the choices that we could have included for property to be overlaid, why did we choose the property we did?
Sure, because that's a good point. A matter of fact, we mentioned this actually on Tuesday regarding the different approaches that could have occurred, whether like the three approaches were essentially fight it, put this overlay in an area that seems to make sense and would not hinder development, but definitely constrain it to a point that the residents would not feel a everlasting and sudden impact. Or the third approach was put this over an area undeveloped that you will most likely see a very, very high density constructed and utilized.
Yeah.
So kind of to touch upon like the two last choices, I would assume, is kind of what you're saying somewhere.
Well, I'm just saying that the town deserves some credit, I think, for the work that was done before our subcommittee, for having, you know, some of the vision to, you know, put up some of these sites, right? Especially the Curtis Apartments. And, you know, and one of the reasons that one of the things that we were concerned about when we started looking at this as a committee was what the impact was going to be to the town. And by utilizing, and by overlaying two of these existing developments with the new overlay, we're able to be compliant, but we're also able to minimize the impact to the town.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense.
Here's my feeling. I think that will come out in questioning. And I think that may be the best way to deal with it, as opposed to a slide.
Yeah, well, I think to Jeff's point, I think we slid in those comments when we started, like in the June meeting. we brought it up, I think, when we transitioned to, when we started talking about proposed districts here. And I think to that point, Jeff, it is what you just mentioned. I mean, that's really the crux of our argument and our request to support this zoning is really the idea that the subcommittee looked at this and said, these areas are already high density residential zoning. Why not put this in those same areas? And I agree. I think hammering that point, and I think doing it when we talk about, right when we get to this slide and talk about why are we gonna be looking at these areas, or why you're about to see these two districts. I think that is where we discuss it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, as,
I
because
agree.
I think one of the, if I kind of remember the tenor of the early conversations in public meetings that we had, people were very concerned about, about impact and like, this is going to be, to build 4-story apartment buildings on empty lots. We're gonna have to double the, hire extra police and fire to look after these things. And I think, this ended up becoming a solution that, of all the things that we could have looked at and gave our blessing to, we thought that we were able to comply in a very good way and minimize the effect on the town.
Exactly. Agreed. Yeah. Welcome, Liz.
You can take over.
No, you're doing so well.
Any other comments
I
from the
just,
public?
I just had one quick comment on page 12, the map, the area says 49 acres. It should say 50.
That's so. No, it is. I think it is 49 acres. For the North Main Street site?
Oh, well, then it says 50 in the other one, on
It's,
the other side.
well, that's the total minimum here. So
I
that's,
see, I'm sorry.
I thought the same thing in there.
don't do that. Yeah, so
okay,
that's,
I was-
yeah. That's.
I got it.
Yep, all right.
I was with you for a while. I got you.
Oh,
I
man,
was saying
you
that.
can't do that this late in the game.
You know. No, I didn't have any more comments.
Someone may ask that question.
Yeah, which, so one area is 49, the other one I think is 17 or 18 and a half.
Yeah, it doesn't,
Which,
it adds up to over 50, but people won't take it.
yeah, well, that's because the Charles has a significant area that's wetlands, so. Okay,
And we all had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting on September 26th. There was not much there. It was a brief meeting.
that was a very brief meeting.
I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
I'd have to second that.
Or Jeff, one or the other.
I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bill O'Connell, aye.
Jeff Scornavaca, aye.
That motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is our next meeting date.
Yeah, so I don't know what we're thinking. I know we're winding down, which is excellent. So next Tuesday, we have the meetings, one at 1 o'clock and one at 7. Anyone's welcome to attend, and if you want to help present or do any Q&A, you're more than welcome to. I know I'm planning on obviously being there for both sessions, and I can present. But after that, between October 15th and November 20th, I don't know if it would make sense for the subcommittee to probably meet one last time before the town meeting, just to collect our thoughts on the outreach, see if there's anything that should be changed on the presentation, get any takeaways, and maybe just finalize the presentation for a town meeting.
Mhm.
Not that we need a separate meeting, but I'm just looking at the calendar. We can meet the 24th. I think Thursday night, the 31st is out because it's Halloween. Obviously, we could look at the 14th, but if we need to make some changes, I think that's kind of tight. I wouldn't be opposed to a 5:30 meeting at the 7th.
Yeah, November 7th is the ZBA meeting, but, you know, at 5:30 will be fine. It's not gonna, we're not gonna be meeting for a very long time. If that works with you folks.
Yeah, I think it's good just to check in. Obviously, depending on how the outreach goes next week. Maybe we need to move the meeting up if there's like.
Yeah.
Some sort of huge,
Debacle.
yeah, backlash or, I don't know, something someone brings up that maybe we missed or whatever it is, so. But the 7th works for now.
Okay. Any thoughts, Jeff? I guess.
It's better if I unmute. No, we're, I'm sorry, the date you're talking about was the 7th?
Yes, November 7th.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Okay. Perfect. So yeah, so I'm gonna put that in. So November 7th at 5:30. That can be, we'll have that. And then, yeah, like you said, we can, if for some reason the outreach meeting on next Tuesday, you know, if there's something significant that maybe might deem some reworking, we can always set up a meeting earlier on, but even the 7th should give, I mean, it'll give me plenty of time to adjust before the meeting, but yeah, so I think that's it.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
No move.
May I say something?
Certainly, sir.
Sorry.
We were talking about impact before. I never heard anything about utilities, sewerage, electric, gas. All these, the 2 places you chose already have these on site.
Yep.
Most of the impact, if there's any road work at all beyond 2 major roads, which should be limited by the fact that they're already being supplied.
Correct.
Somebody asked, you know, what the impact on traffic.
Yep.
Something like that might be.
Yep. No, absolutely. I think that was discussed a little bit during coffee and conversation on Tuesday, a little bit, so. It's good. These are good questions to warm us up.
Everybody's so concerned about the traffic in town and adding more people,
Yep.
put their mind at ease a little bit about preparation.
Definitely. No, definitely.
And again, this is, we have to designate an area.
I'm sorry,
We have to designate an area. It does not mean they'll be built, as we articulated Tuesday.
I'm having trouble hearing you though.
We just have to designate the overlay areas.
Right,
It does not mean they will be built,
I understand that,
okay?
but to calm people down before they get riled, they have to tell them what the advantages are. or
Correct.
what the mitigation is.
Correct.
I know I was up in arms when I first heard about all this. Now I'm in favor of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the people that usually come with me feel the same way.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully is right. So, cool. All right,
I think we just need a second
I think
and a vote on closing the meeting.
you just need a vote on Chloe, because I don't, oh yeah,
No,
so,
we were stopped, there's one on the floor. Adjourn.
yeah, so motion to adjourn, that needs to be a second.
I second.
All right,
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, Bill will call a line.
Jeff Skorvaka, aye.
excellent. All
We're
right,
adjourned.
thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Jeff, thanks again.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks, folks. Great job.
We'll see you Tuesday.
Thank you.
Take care.
I didn't hear you again.
We'll see you Tuesday,
Tuesday.
Definitely, maybe twice.
maybe twice.